Hi everybody, welcome back to Root Access, the show where we answer your questions. We've got Jamie DeGrazio, former Mac genius here. I'm just former Apple guy. It's really all my business card used to say. Don't forget, if you have any questions, you can send them to root@thedigital-lifestyle.tv. In this segment, I want to talk about Microsoft Office, in particular Microsoft Word. We can get to the whole suite too, time permitting. But obviously an industry standard for years and years and years. Now you've got the internet. I say that like it's new. Now I hear they've got the internet. But you've got these new Web 2.0 apps, and people are making web apps very similar to Microsoft Office and Word. And also there are third-party, standalone programs for Word. So I'm curious as to the future of Word. We've got new Office 2008 out for Mac. I haven't played with that yet. But I'm wondering, do you think in this day and age, do we still need, a software suite that's several $100s in order to make a newsletter or write a letter?
Well, I don't think most people need Word. I think, honestly, if you have a Mac, most people could survive with just TextEdit, because you can save as like a Word document. And now with like Google Docs, I mean, that's the big thing. You can do everything online. I think Word's days are numbered. I mean, I think Microsoft themselves, they're moving. There's like an online version of Word they have out maybe now. I'm not 100% sure.
I know they've talked about it, if not.
I mean, at some point, how many more features can you add to Word do people really don't need? I've seen some clips of the new 2008 Word for Mac, and it looks slick. It reminded me a little bit of Pages. But do you really need to upgrade if you're just writing a term paper or like a resume? So I think that its days are numbered. I think they'll probably go to like a subscription model at some point. Maybe that's what they're doing now, Microsoft, with like, you'll just subscribe, you'll sign in, and it'll save everything. But to actually buy an application that you install, I think those days are coming to an end.
And that's a good point to bring up Pages as well, because even Apple is in this game of making basically Word clones or better word processing programs. And I find using Pages is more intuitive if I need to actually do any layout work. And that's one area where the Google Docs, I mean, basically it's a straight up text page, put the text in, and that's it. So, maybe instead of adding features, maybe Microsoft Word should maybe have a whole layout mode or something like that, rather than just that little thing you click and you see where all the squiggly lines are that you normally don't see on the document, and I think they're going to print. Well, anyhow. Maybe that's just me. But I know for TDL, we've been using Google Docs kind of as an experiment over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And just for things like show notes and that kind of thing, it's fine. But I did a very simple layout. It was some financial projections for 3 years. And so it's 3 columns. Looked great. Exported to Word, sent that to someone as a Word document. And that formatting was all wrong.
Really?
So, if it still isn't at the point where it can do simple tab columns, I think that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think those things will probably get corrected. I mean, I guess the big drawback is you need to be connected online. Now, most people are, but say you're working at an airport, then you're going to get on the airplane with no internet connection. What do you do? So I think there's been talk of being able to have like offline access to those tools. Somehow the browser will cache some things or what have you and save out, and then you can, once you reconnect to a Wi-Fi connection, it'll upload everything.
If provided you have the browser open and you're on that on that document, I think you can do that.
But I mean, like I said, I mean, most people will probably survive with TextEdit and just export it to Word, or then write it in TextEdit and then copy and paste it into like a Google Docs. I know where I work, a lot of students, they all still use Word. They don't use Google Docs, but they do use the Google Notebook a lot. I see that a lot, where you can just like record web links and put notes, and I think it's good for research, but Word's still the standard.
It's funny that it doesn't seem like, I mean, there are other third-party standard, like Devon has a product for this, and there's the Think Free Office and all that, but none of those have gained the traction of, let's say, earlier we talked about Safari, Internet Explorer, and Firefox. There really isn't any alternative that's reached the kind of traction that Firefox has on the browser side.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess everybody's still kind of conditioned to go and get Word. And the funny thing is, as I understand it, on a lot of PCs, it's not pre-installed.
Yeah, they might give you, what was the cheap? Works, right? I don't know if they still make that or not, but yeah. Well, it's kind of shocking that Apple doesn't give you anything. I mean, they give you text edit, but they don't give you anything. Like, they don't give you Pages at least. Or, I mean, years ago they used to give you AppleWorks on the consumer machines. I mean, if I was a student now, I don't think I could spend like $170 on a word processor.
And that's
I just wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's less than it used to be. And you do bring up a good point that if you're just doing, you know, a standalone just Word, no real formatting, you can just use TextEdit and save as a Word document. Or you could combine the two, and if you're offline with Google Docs, you know, do some stuff in TextEdit to add to that document later.
Yep.
So, but it all goes back to, you know, what happened with me in the formatting. It all goes back to whether you or your company or whatever is kind of a closed-off system. If you still need to send files out to the rest of the world, sometimes just exporting as Word doesn't really do the trick.
Yeah.
So,
Just save as PDF then. That would have been the solution.
unless they need to edit it.
Oh, that's
because
true.
then
That's
they
true.
would. But I guess the verdict here is Microsoft Office and Microsoft Word in particular not really going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
For better or worse. We'll find out. We're going to talk to them. And
You're going to go visit the Microsoft Business Unit
absolutely.
here. Okay.
That's what's going on, and find out more. Maybe we'll come away enlightened. Because you know the other parts of it, you've got PowerPoint and you've got Keynote, which I think is far slicker and far more intuitive and looks better. But again, it just doesn't have the same market share, penetration, and I think that's partially because people who use Keynote tend to not want to let other people know. That's why it looks better.
Yeah,
like if you're doing presentations, you don't want everyone, oh yeah, well here's how I did mine and it looks great. But I think with Excel, as simple as it is, you know, it's columns and you put in formulas, I really don't think there's anything else that people use that's close. I mean, even numbers on the Mac, I don't really hear much about that.
If people are still, I think, worried about compatibility. Like you said, if it's a closed environment, you can get away with using numbers and Pages, but if you're communicating with Windows users, you're probably going to get Office.
So the verdict for today is Office is still around, as I said. Go ahead and play with some of the other programs. Google Docs obviously is free. Give that a whirl. It's really good if you need to share documents with multiple people and let multiple people access and edit the content. So there you go. Hey, don't forget, what's the address if they have a question?
Root access at thedigitallifestyle.com?
No.
No? Root at digitallifestyle.tv.
Root at thedigitallifestyle.tv.
Why didn't we have the .com? We couldn't afford it.
Let's not get into it now. Goodbye, everybody.